Actually, people need. Well, okay, yeah. Let's talk about it. So, all right. If we take a look at so now I'm here with Lisa over here, and one thing that we're on today here on the topic of food availability, and Lisa, what you're saying that you think that food's going to get scarce in the fall, right? Actually, there's also supposed to be economic collapse in the fall as well. Or are you talking about like because of the droughts? Um,
I'm talking about because
Fall is harvest season.
there's when it comes to food preparation, there's especially with big ag, but even with small farms, there's a lot of preparation that has to happen. So when you have fields, and you have certain crops, you generally need to fertilize them. You have sometimes some fields have a fallow period. You have to get your equipment ready, whether, most people have tractors, small tractors, all of these inputs, and sometimes the profit margins are very slim, depending on the crop and what they're doing. And lately it's been a little bit of a heyday, but now all of the
Oh,
inputs have gone up,
quick
have
question.
doubled, tripled in price.
Quick question now. Why do we need so much fertilizer though? Because the fact of the matter is, right? Like I actually do my gardening myself, right? We have nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium not that hard. Um, I'm wondering if it's really the fertilizer, if it's really like the insecticides that they put inside the right, that Roundup inside the actual like soil and stuff, or is it really the fertilizer? Maybe it is, right? I know that
If
the crops
if
now
you
are
want them to
genetically
grow,
engineered to like suck up
if
the
you
nutrients.
right,
Go
if you
ahead.
want them to grow, period, the Roundup and stuff like that, those are just pesticides to keep your crops from being eaten or not looking market ready. But if you want, them to just grow, period, you have to amend your soil. And generally, those amendments need some kind of inputs.
Now wait a
And
second,
so
okay?
whether it's
A lot
organic
of
farm,
a lot of cities that I know New York City has a program for this. I know Newburgh had this. I don't know about in California. I think it's very popular actually. Composting is huge. So
mhm.
you have right. Actually, there's places like you could call like in New York City and just go and get free compost and shit. Is that available in LA?
Yeah, totally available here.
What's
Totally.
like if that's
Well,
available, then why do the people need to even buy
we
fertilizer
have
if they can just go and get compost, which is like really good? You get what I'm
uh,
saying?
they well, that's what it is. It is
Like
compost. We
it's
have an
free. Like that's like some of the best
It is
fertilizer. Like
it is
what's the
free.
problem?
We
Yeah.
in
So
Lo- in Okay, in the center of Los Angeles, we have an enormous park called Griffith Park. And next to that park is this huge area that's an equestrian center. Believe it or not, there are houses and communities around here where you can actually have horses. So
cool.
the equestrian center, it has just mounds of horse poop, right?
That's
And
good
so this
stuff. It's
particular
like
area
grass.
yeah. So this particular area of the city, where I live, the compost, and there's a few composting places around the city, but the one
Yeah.
that I live in is the biggest one, and they mix it with the horse manure, so it's like the best.
So
And
like why can't they? It sounds like there's maybe it's not enough to do on an industrial scale,
it's
but
not enough to do, well, you could, I mean, I suppose to take it to different farms and stuff. The thing is that
you have a
um,
whole city
instead of
producing
using,
compost.
instead of using instead of growing farms, I mean, we don't really have farms in the city, we have micro farms. So we have micro farming programs where people can turn their backyards into a micro farm, and then you can sell to restaurants and sell to and farmers markets and stuff. Just a second,
Yeah.
I can send this.
But the thing is that all the restaurants got whacked.
um,
You ever grow good mung beans? I'm getting off the topic, yeah, but yeah, growing on your own is definitely a good idea. Yeah, I'm definitely into that.
growing stuff is cannot be so easy. It's not so easy. Watch your step because there's paint. Cannot be so easy. I mean, you can have a good harvest once you put in all your inputs and stuff like that, and then the following year you can have a pretty good harvest, and then the year after that it could be zero because you've depleted your soil, and then you have to add more things into it.
Well,
So
okay, so
think about it. Okay, so even if I just have a backyard, which I have a little over a quarter of an acre, I have to go get the stuff, and it's a bunch of stuff. So do I have a truck? No, I don't have a truck. I have to get somebody with a truck, or I have to get a truck. I have to bring it here. I have to schlep it up my hill, and then I have to spread it. all that is usually done if someone has a farm or a little farm is with a tractor or stuff like that. But all of those things, all of those tasks have now doubled and tripled in price because it's really expensive now just to go get the stuff, not and let alone pay for it.
You know, some of the things that I think that are like actually like
California,
I've had been able to yeah I've been able to switch to, like low budget meals. Like if you take like canned sardines and you fry them up, like it tastes freaking great. You know, I mean, if you put them in the pan and you actually don't just like eat them out the can, but you actually fry them up. And with like oatmeal and stuff, like that's another cheap. Like you know, you could get quinoa, and I love quinoa. It tastes great. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's proteins. There's like extra shit in there, but you could just get away with oatmeal and some, you know, cheap proteins and stuff. You can just. I've had to get by on cheap ass meals.
and who's going to do the fishing, and who's going to and how are they going to and how are they going to power the boats, and who's going to grow
I can get the
the
protein from the beans if I have to. It's not. I'm not crazy about it,
and,
but I've
and
had to
who's
do
going to
that.
grow the Do you understand what I'm saying? That these things still take energy. They still take, you know, some things to do it. It's not as cheap as it once was, and so that means
Yeah,
down the line it won't be cheap again.
but
It'll be
right. I think the first day of summer is like
pound of
maybe in a
food
couple.
was a
Yeah,
dollar, and
yeah.
now it goes up to $2. Maybe it seems like $2 is not that bad, but when you consider that someone has a family and now something costs twice as much as it used to, you know, you're now have a food budget. Well, for some people, some families, it's like the most expensive thing they pay for, second to rent. You
So
know,
I'm trying to think of solutions for people that are like, because you said that you think the fall is going to happen. So I'm just going off of my own experience, like what happened when I like you know started to lose money or like where I went. Like so I do know Salvation Army had food stuff like that, but we're gonna. Some people will be able to grow their own food. Some people, for whatever reasons, they decide on their own. Right. I think that it's not that hard to grow your own food, but some people will choose not to for whatever reason. We'll just talk about like what the options are, like you know how things go in that direction. So that's just the
it's
framework
not
that I'm
that
looking
hard
at from.
to grow your food, but are you growing it for free? Like, what are you buying? Are you counting that into the cost of your food? Are you counting water? Are you counting your time to go get it? Are you counting the
S
price of the
okay.
seeds? Are you counting
So early,
the
okay. So earlier, one thing that you said was that you said that there. Okay, so when we look at the, because I actually do know the price of like a lot of like produce and stuff like that, but when you look at it from one of the things that you're speaking earlier about was you talking about like the crops in Mexico because of the drought. We were talking about in California, right? You said that there's the Colorado River is having problems like putting water into the area. You know, it's talking about fertilizer, right?
right?
So, um, with the food shortage coming up, are there certain foods that you think will be maybe more affected or less affected by this upcoming food
Well,
shortage?
well, I can tell you right now, avocados in California are literally twice as expensive as they've been. Like the cheapest you can get an avocado, even when they're on sale, is $2. And now some people are selling avocados for $3 each. That's expensive out here. So, you know, we grow them here. You know, so it's it's really expensive. Like to eat the things that we used to eat all the time, you know, and kind of took for granted. And now all of those things have become very expensive. So I just I think that things that are normally cheap, like a dollar a head, like lettuce. I think that lettuce is going to get more expensive. I think tomatoes are going to get more expensive. I think that
Are there
things
any
like
food classes that you
yeah,
think will maybe be more protected or are more vulnerable to this kind of like? I guess you said California has a lot of fruits, right? So maybe the orange crop or something. But
yeah, yeah.
okay.
Well, citrus does really well in Southern California, but I would say that stone fruits might be a problem because they need a lot more water. Um,
You know,
I,
one thing
I
that I think is amazing, like the U.S. is worried about the China, like having like TikTok and shit like that. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Right? But they don't worry about them producing most of our food. You go to the 99-cent store, the frozen carrots, frozen, it's all from freaking China. You buy
Yep,
like your shrimp and stuff from the market, it's all from China.
yep, yep. So, yep, that's a problem. It's
Yeah,
a it's a
there's lead
problem.
in there. There's like cancerous shit in there. You know what I mean? They're like, oh well, that's for the
If
poor people.
if we start, I mean, it depends. that's the reason why I really think that people need to start becoming more um, food independent. That we really have to start doing more food co-ops and stuff like that because I just think that
Do you see my program with the LU Network? Because they're into that same thing, and they're in Colorado.
no, I didn't see that.
Okay.
But I think that like I belong to a food swap, and I'm actually starting my own.
Oh, cool.
Uh, and
What are you
we're
growing?
well, I have stuff like I have bay leaf. I have a bay leaf tree. I have a lemon tree. I have some other.
Yo,
Uh,
you growing that shard?
I'm not growing chard.
It grows so
Yeah,
big. It's massive.
chard.
It's massive. It's cool to grow because it's just so big. Yeah.
Grow. It does. It does. It's cool, and you can just grow a little of it. And that's the great thing is that we can grow here. We can grow here almost all year round.
The tomatoes,
And
those are the best. I really love those tomatoes.
so we can
I'll
grow
mow
here
through them.
almost year round, and that way we can kind of trade with each other.
Have
And
you grown asparagus?
asparagus is perennial, and you have to plant it and wait about 3 to 7 years for it to mature. So
But once
um,
you have it, like it is kind of a
once you
luxury.
have it, yeah, it's staying.
That
It's
is an
kind of
expensive. That's one of the more expensive.
yes, that is one more expensive.
Yeah.
Artichokes too. They're also perennial,
But I'm
and
not really big. I like artichokes, but not like I won't eat them as regular as I would eat asparagus. Also, asparagus, just is a cruciferous vegetable, and
uh-huh.
cruciferous vegetables are natural like literally detoxifiers. Your body uses those bio compounds.
Asparagus. We have big asparagus crops here. We also have big
Yo, grilled
artichoke.
asparagus is so good.
Yeah.
Oh my
We
god,
have a whole town
you're
called
making me hungry.
Illinois that's
Yeah.
known for growing garlic, and they have a
Oh, I
garlic
like that
festival.
too. Oh my god, Koreans
So
love garlic. Forget about
they
it.
have a garlic festival. I would love to go. I want to go
Koreans
and check
love
it out.
garlic.
Supposedly they have garlic ice cream and all
Oh, you're
that.
making me hungry. I taste the garlic right now. Tastes a little bit like garlic. This thing, just a little bit like garlic. You just made me taste it right now.
So, so these are the things that I think that are going to start happening because, there's another thing that I think
So, what are some
that
things people can do to prepare? I mean, besides growing their own food, where, like most people, when they look at like what's the easiest things to grow, they're usually told to start with spices like basil, things like that. Is probably like an easier one, low light. But
I think that people should start
potatoes,
buying rice and potatoes and beans and just staples. And I think that you should start buying them now with whatever little spare money you
kale's
have.
easy to grow.
And kale is easy to grow.
It survives the winter
There,
too. It survives the cold. It doesn't get cold there, right? Yeah, you have to.
uh, well, cold here is like 50 degrees, so that's about it.
It'll survive in the winter.
Yeah,
Kale
yeah.
out here, so
So, so that's what I recommend. There's other things that I see happening, like I think that we're going to have some problems with banks, and that's going to be big. That's going to have a big problem. That's going to cause big problems with farms, and because a lot of a lot of farmers rely on credit to be able to buy seeds and to be able to and then to harvest them back. So they use a kind of a credit kind of borrowing system. And but I saw something online with a guy who was the head of the Black Farmers Association, and he's like something like a 7 generation farmer that's had land for like years and years, and it's been in his family. And he just said, you know, uh, he goes, food isn't a left issue or a right issue, it's a people issue. It's neutral. The land is neutral. And he goes, and we're going to have serious problems if we don't start helping the farmers and the small farmers
wait. Quick
because
question. Yeah. What, is there like a farmers credit union though?
I think there are several credit unions that are in different areas. I know the Amish have one, and there's different things, but we I think that um, I worry that farmland has gotten really expensive, and I also worry that people may lose their farms because they can't actually farm their crops. And if that happens, who's going to take it up again? And who's going to, actually start working these farms so we can get food? I mean, there's a lot of things in the new tech in the new tech movement now. Um, Elon Musk is Elon Musk's brother, uh, Kimball, I think his name is, and he has started. He's a chef, and he started kind of like a new food tech thing where he's growing uh, basically farms wherever you want to put them, and they grow them in shipping containers, and they have like LED lights inside, basically almost like what a pot farmer would do, except he does it with food, and they use I think a tenth of the water, something like 15% of the water, and I think like a third of the energy. Just and so and then you can put these things anywhere, and you can just sort of stack them up on top of each other. And so and because the lights are always on, and I guess they use kind of a hydroponics system also, that the food grows very quickly,
Yeah,
and it
actually,
also
in a drought situation, hydroponics saves a lot of water, and that
yeah
may
it
be
does
something
it
that you
does
really need to look into,
yeah yeah
especially in
so
California.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah. And so, and so there are a lot of people who believe that there's basically a deflationary wave coming into the food sector. Um, so,
Deflationary?
so what a deflationary
Why
wave
deflationary?
because food tech can grow food everywhere. You don't have the traveling concerns for them to grow. You could have something like this stacked within a city, and you don't have to. It doesn't. Your food doesn't have to travel so far. You don't have to. You can grow a lot more of it, and you can grow it vertically,
There's so much
meaning
wasted something on the sides
yeah,
of those buildings. They could really like
yeah.
be
So they
using
can grow
that.
things
Like,
vertically
wow.
instead of having land and growing it massively, and you can contain the water use and only and use very few inputs. So or less inputs. You also don't have to use fertilizer. I mean not fertilizers. I'm sorry, pesticides. So the cost of pesticides are very expensive, and so you cut down on that considerably. So there are people who believe, and I think that they may be true, that there's a deflationary wave in food, but only certain types of food, only certain types of crops can grow that way. Other types of crops need other things to grow. Like it would kind of be a little hard to grow corn that way.
You got the chickens?
Um, but you
Yeah.
could it could be a little difficult to grow
Do you have
corn.
chickens too?
Corn is a big crop. It could be difficult to grow. I do have chicken.
Yo,
I
so
do,
the eggs, yo, I've been really interested in getting eggs, but my friend actually raises guinea pigs. But we
uh-huh,
were talking about the proteins earlier, right? Instead of the beans, right?
uh-huh,
But the
uh-huh.
problem is in the city, I think condition. So I think it's like hard to take care of all the chicken poop because that has to be processed specially for composting,
Oh, yeah,
right?
a little bit.
I was
Yeah.
thinking about having a pet chicken though. I was thinking about getting chicken diapers. You know what I'm talking about?
Chicken what?
A chicken
Diapers?
diaper, yeah. And
I
having a
don't
pet
know.
chicken running around. I might get one actually. I
I
should.
have
I want to eat.
never,
I could eat a lot of eggs.
I've never heard of that. Never heard of
No,
that. So,
you could look it up. It's a
but
thing. It's hilarious.
that's funny. That's very funny.
They're like little pants for the chicken, yeah.
That's funny.
So they don't shit in your house. That way you can let them run around your house.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Even with the pooping, I don't know if I had a lot of chicken in my house. Though my aunt used to do that in Australia, so
Yo, sometimes they bite each other and stuff. Yeah, they could be a little nasty sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, they're not necessarily the most cuddly things. Yeah,
they're
it's all
funny.
good though. They could be
They'll
cool though.
um, so that's my concern is that maybe this is a short-term thing, but I think that even 2 years will seem like a long time when you're hungry, and 2 years will seem like a really long time
I
when
think
you feel hungry.
oatmeal is actually, you know, it's filling, it's cheap, it lasts long.
Who grows the oats?
You could
Who
even
grows
buy it now and store it for a long time.
exactly?
Oats will
You need
store
to
for a
start
long
doing
ass time.
They will store for a long time, but you need to start doing it now. Because who grows those oats? Who gets it out of the field? Who gets it out of the stuff? I think that we're going to see insane things going up. And from what I
But you
can
said deflation.
hear,
You said deflation.
deflation in the long term,
Okay.
but that's only for certain crops, you know. So,
Which
you know,
crops?
I
Corn?
think, well, like lettuces, microgreens,
That will
things that
deflate?
kale and stuff like that. But not everybody eats that stuff, you know. Some people want, I think that meat will start getting very, very expensive. Um, I think that uh, I think that stone fruit, they still won't find a way to grow that inside of containers. When you have trees, when
Have
people
you
talk about
have you
trees,
ever my friend ate the black soldier fly larva. Have you ever done that? No.
no.
Yo, there's this girl on YouTube, she eats all kinds of like bugs and stuff. It's crazy.
Oh, I think I've heard of her.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not into the bugs.
I'm not really
Let
into it either.
me eat the bugs. I'll
But the
eat
guinea
rest.
pig, you the guinea pig, right? My boy's raising those. Rabbits. You know it's actually very good rabbits.
Yeah, I know people raise rabbits.
Yeah.
Mm.
The
Yeah,
manure actually you can use it right away. You don't have to like let it. It's not like chicken
yeah,
manure. Fast.
I've heard that from master gardeners that
Yeah.
rabbit manure is like the
Just
best
throw it out.
manure.
You're good. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
good. Yeah. So.
yeah. I think that I think that um, I want to start something here in Los Angeles called herd share, and basically so we can have certain livestock, but we can't have other kinds of livestock. And what I want to do is have basically um, have a, a, a flock or a herd of maybe some sheep or some goats, and then share them amongst other groups of people. So maybe I'll have it for a month, and then we can impregnate, the females, so we can get goat milk, so we can make goat cheese, so we can have them, eat our lawns instead of, mowing them, so we can have their poop, so we can fertilize, our gardens.
Yo, goats
And,
climb crazy
and with
things.
sheep,
Oh my god.
even like, to have their wool or to have, I think certain groups, if they wish to do any kind of culling, they will be able to, if they wish to. Some people won't have a culling group if they don't wish to, but that way we can all kind of share in those kinds of things. Because sometimes it's hard, when you have animals, you can't be there to milk them every day, or you have other things to do, and that way other people can come, and so you have it for a month. I mean, we
Yeah.
just went to the farm, my son and I, on a field trip, and a Jersey cow, which gives the least amount of milk from any other breed, still gives 2 to 4 gallons a day. So imagine having a cow for a month. It gives 2 to 4 gallons a day.
Yeah, but I was told
And
also that, first of all the milk will spoil after a while, and also the thing is that I think they said it takes like 2 acres to take care of a cow. 2 acres
I don't know
worth of
that much.
of,
I
of
don't think it's that much.
okay.
But the thing is that uh, if you had a cow for a month, that would be all the cheese you would need for a year. And so
Okay.
then you can kind of move on to another thing. But we don't have to have a cow. We could have a sheep, and a sheep would give maybe not as much, but still a
Right.
lot, and that would make yogurts or I love sheep yogurt.
I think they said like in a self-sufficient like system, because they said like otherwise like you could have like more, you could do it in a smaller area, but then you have to like bring in like food and export the waste and stuff like in a smaller setup.
Right, exactly. But
Yeah.
we don't want to do that. We want to use everything here. So
Yeah,
there are
yeah,
ways
yeah.
that we could
I
instantly.
okay, maybe you could spread out the geography right, so use the manure and then spread it out through the network. That would actually make sense, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So
but the
yeah,
thing is,
okay.
we'll have them for a month, and then to move on and do those things. I think
It's
that,
an interesting cycle. Yeah, I could see that working.
so that's the permaculture way. You use it. You use everything. You use everything.
I think that would be a lot of fun actually. Yeah, take care of the cow for the month. I would actually want to do that, right? Yeah. And if I got together with 12 friends and we said, yo, one month we're going to do this and have that experience,
Yeah, exactly.
I think that would be fucking cool. Yeah, so why not? Yeah.
Exactly. And then it moves on to another family, and it moves on to another family,
That
and
would be
then
dope, actually.
everybody kind of gets in to share, or kind of, wait their turn to do something. It's work, so it's not like, oh, it's so novel. It gets old really quick. I mean, if you're not really into it, farmers work. They get up early in the morning. They do a lot of stuff.
Okay.
So
Also, if people want to grow food, like, that's one thing that I talked about earlier, right? So you said they should grow like wheat. Or not, sorry, not wheat. You said they should grow some grains. You said like rice.
I know
How
some
do you?
people.
Isn't it hard to grow rice? How easy to grow rice?
You have to have a lot of water to grow rice. We
Yeah.
used to grow it here in California, but it's like that people realized that was insane that we were growing rice here.
Yeah.
But
So yeah, what crops are kind of like maybe? Let's think about like let's
but we've
talk about
taken
this
enough
situation.
rainfall. I mean, grains can still be grown with not that much water. And I know some people who do dry farming. They literally have, like, in California we actually have heritage grains that are native to the state. And so I belong to this organization called LA Bread Bakers,
Cool.
and
Do like bread.
we
I got
get
it.
we hook up with farmers who are basically resurrecting these heritage grains, and
Sounds
then
tasty. It makes me want to
they
come to
farm
LA. Yeah.
what?
I said that makes me want to come to LA. That sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, you should come on down and
I
see
do
all
like
the
bread.
stuff
I do
that's
like bread.
happening. There's things that are happening that are very depressing, like the homelessness and stuff. And there's things happening that are also very inspiring and heartening, like the new food movement and stuff. And because of the weather, and because we can grow all year round here, it's 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 great that we can do particular things, and have and kind of be semi-successful at it.
You
Though
know,
we still need fertilizers and inputs and stuff like that. And
one
so,
thing that I'm afraid that's going to start coming out here once, if the food does go up like you say,
mhm,
I'm afraid that we're actually already experiencing that right now, is
yeah,
synthetic food. You seen the Chinese
yeah.
people making like the fake eggs, making fake lettuce, making all this fake stuff. Sometimes I eat the fake crab. And I'm like, yo, this is too fake. I ate the avocado the other day. I was like, yo, I don't even know if this is real avocado. I felt like maybe this is some fake avocado. I was really questioning it, really deeply,
If it wasn't expensive,
real
it may not.
deeply, huh?
If it wasn't expensive, it may not be.
I was
Avocados.
really questioning that avocado that I tasted. I was like, this is sus. Straight up. Yo, I'm telling you, I'm nervous about that happening because they be doing that for real. And we buy a lot of food from China at the
We buy a
99
lot of
cent
food from
store.
China, but we don't really
Yeah.
have to. We've got a lot of space in this country. We've got a lot of space.
Why are we
So,
worried about the computers when they make our food like that? They could just get us there. You know what I mean?
and they are. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot. I mean, I don't know. Again,
What
we're
are you
closer
growing
to
right now?
Canada.
What are you
We're
growing?
closer. What am I growing?
Yeah.
Uh, well, we're starting to grow tomatoes,
Hell yeah.
and we've got a bunch of herbs. So, um, lemon verbena, sage, mint, oregano, basil,
Oh, mint is good. Yeah.
um,
Keep the mice out, right?
thyme.
Yeah.
Um, we've also got
You do berries? You're not.
peppers do really
You're not doing any berries?
yeah, blackberries. I'm doing blackberries. There's a certain kind of blackberry that does well here. Passion fruit. I have an apple tree. I have several citrus trees.
Can you do?
No,
Yeah. Can you do the orange tree? What about mango? Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I have two mango trees.
Oh what?
Uh,
Oh my goodness. That's so
and
good.
so they're little though. I gotta
Hey,
give you a little.
that's alright.
My apple trees are giving. My lemon trees are giving. Um, my orange
Yo,
trees.
maybe you could
So
tell me about this, because there was one year that I had this cherry tree, and then it gave so many cherries, like it was like bomb. Like I had this big ass bowl. I was so happy. The next year, I was like, yo, I can't wait. And there was like so few cherries, like so little. I was like, And the next day after that, I was like, what happened?
Because it needs some inputs, and so some of the things that you can do. I watched this man. He's out here on the west coast, a little south of here, and what is his? I think his channel is Gary's Gardening Tips, or I'm blanking on his.
Maybe it was getting light at the wrong time of the night
He
or
says
something.
that, but he said that, what they do in the orchards is that they basically score a hole, and then they pull out plugs of earth, and then they put in new earth. So they put in new earth, that has like fertilizer or whatever, or they put fertilizer on top, just a thin layer, like an inch, on top. That helps a lot. So when you have these stone fruits growing, they need water, and they need, fertilization if you want them to be, A, if you want them to give, and B, if you want them to be sweet. The other thing that you can do is that you can make a mixture of like sugar or honey, and then like seaweed or some kind of fish emulsion, and and what was the third thing? Yeah, and just water and
I think
shake it
usually
up.
molasses
And
is
then
cheaper
you
than the
know what
honey.
you do? You
Yeah,
spray it on all the leaves.
yeah, yeah.
And what that does is that it helps, because what the tree does is that it uses photosynthesis to make glucose. But when you just spray on that kind of mixture, then it's just glucose and like that fish, kind of seaweed fish emulsion. What it does, it already has its inputs, and then it doesn't have to it doesn't have to put the energy into that, you know, chloro that chlorophyll making process. It can take its energy and put it into fruiting. So, which is what it does with its spare energy. So,
Do you actually when you do
I want to
this
try it. I've heard that trees that give like 100 fruit can do these things, and their trees will give like 700 fruit.
do you do cloning?
Uh, California farmers do a lot of cloning. I'm not so into cloning. It is the
Okay.
fastest way to get a tree and to grow it, and bear rooting. But I think it's very important also to grow things from seed, because one of the problems that we have out here is that when we have a blight, because all of the trees are the
Genetically
same,
same. Yeah.
same tree, it affects all of the trees, and so you have a problem that goes basically, what can wipe out an entire crop because they're all the same. So to have some variety is very important. Also, to have variety uh, tends to make trees grow better. They'll
Yeah.
they cross pollinate even though they're cross varieties, and sometimes it helps them to just be more resilient. So
Yeah, and they occupy different like spaces in the stratosphere, in the atmosphere
yeah,
that taking up different
genetics.
ecology and niches and shit. Yeah.
Genetics, it's all connected.
Hell yeah.
Water politics affects food politics, affects, uh, regular politics, when people get angry when food gets too expensive or too scarce.
Yeah.
Uh, Look what's happening in Sri Lanka. Look at it's
And
all
if you
the
spray your plants, I would spray them like more towards like the nighttime. I mean, sometimes the droplets can burn the leaves a little bit. Sometimes, not
yeah,
always, right? Yeah, but or like right in the morning before like it gets too hot. I mean, before the sun's
yeah,
really hitting them.
yeah, yeah. So, so all of these things are kind of like tricks from the trade that people are doing, and a lot of people are borrowing from the hydroponics movement. I'm going to be starting to do something like that. That's a combination of hydroponics and soil, and supposedly it makes crops grow give twice the yield, twice as fast. So I'm going to try it and let you know
Hell
if it
yeah.
works. A
Hell
lot of
yeah.
input. It's a little expensive to start, but we'll see how it works. And so
Do you actually? I just got worms.
we had worms too.
Oh yeah.
They died. I get some more, but I want to start a worm farm actually. So because what I would actually like to do is raise some fish, and so with a worm
What
farm,
were you giving your worms? Because I'm not giving them like food stuff. I'm just giving them the leaves because I have so much leaves that I'm getting.
uh,
So I'm just shooting the leaves in there. I don't think the leaves can kill them.
there is a website called Share Waste, and
Just
I'm
leaves and
on,
paper and some water.
and it's out of Australia, but it's worldwide, and
Yeah.
you just put whether or not people who want to compost but don't have the room for it can go to places where people say that they'll accept it. So we will probably accepting in the future. We'll be accepting paper and newspaper, and then but right now we accept all food scraps, and so we feed those food scraps to our birds, and then in the future we'll be using a worm farm and doing that with our worms.
We have such a wealth of, I think, fertilizer available.
If we used it, it depends. Like the city of Los Angeles uses its biomass that it takes from all
We make
the
so much.
people
What do we do
making
with all that
poop,
paper waste? Yeah, we make
the
so much
people
paper waste.
making poop, and they kind of make it into a biomass, and they spread it onto farms, non-food farms,
Yeah,
in another county, in Kern County, which is above us, and
it's
the
close. They didn't
that
treat it with so many
county
chemicals, but
that
yeah,
county
yeah.
sued us. Kern County sued Los Angeles County for having them. They're basically saying you're dumping your waste,
Okay,
on our properties, and we showed through
that's
the
worth
lawsuit
money.
that it's that it doesn't do anything to harm anything. It's not
Yeah,
fouling your aquifers. The crops that we have are non-food crops, and that we're using it to basically regenerate the biomass and what we're using. But as you can see, that there are governments and there are municipalities that are still resistant to doing these things. So you know, Los Angeles is, believe it or not, more at the forefront of dealing with its waste and trying to regenerate it. There's a desal movement that how we should really talk about water. We should really talk about water politics. I'll try to get Charms on. LaCroix. She is the she St. Croix, I think. She's from the Caribbean and is the director
makes
of
sense.
the LA chapter of the Sierra Club, and she can talk about water and water politics very very cogently. She's really amazing, and I go and I'm on the water committee sometimes of the or just listening in basically to the water committee at Sierra Club. And I know a little bit about water, but I don't want to say I can barely keep up. But
Global warming's
it,
project.
these are people who are true
Yeah.
water wonks. And when you
Global water.
understand water
Yeah.
politics, you start to understand what's going on all over the world. Like understanding using California as an example as far as water politics goes, and how the inputs with agriculture and all the other things and population growth lets you understand the water politics in places like Israel and why things like that happen there, or in other parts of the world,
Amazon's
or what's
huge too.
happening in the Great Lakes, where Nestle and all these
China.
corporations are trying to suck out all the water, and that there's all these battles, whether they be between countries or just in communities. So,
That's
so
wild. Yeah.
it all has an effect, and it's all connected, as I always say.
Yeah.
And it's so those of you out there who are listening, get an extra like 25-pound bag of rice and learn how to cook it. Uh, get some beans, get some cans of beans, stock up on some stuff. You'll be glad you did.
How many?
Because
How
we
many?
may be
Yeah.
seeing, I mean, during COVID in the initial days, we had like insane empty shelves, at least here in Los Angeles and in other places in Southern California. And I can tell you, this may happen again, but not because everybody's hoarding it, it's because it's not
A
available.
chicken should lay 3 eggs a week, right? About.
A chicken in its prime can lay every day if you feed it enough.
Okay.
A chicken needs actually a lot of food to make an egg. So,
Oh, it does. Okay.
yeah, fair amount.
How much? What do you feed it? Corn?
I think it needs about 4 pounds of food to make an egg.
Do you feed it the?
Why?
What? Okay. What,
We feed it scraps, food scraps.
you might be able to
Um,
start the worm farm and feed it worms. Feed it
yeah, so we're gonna feed it worms, but we're gonna use also like newspaper and
black
types of.
soldier flies.
We're gonna be doing a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Cool.
So for people who want to do that, you can also use your hens for meat.
I've
But
done that.
we're not there yet.
I've done the whole chicken thing. Yeah,
The whole
I've
chicken thing.
yeah. The thing is that actually I split them open, and the thing is that I've seen the eggs inside, like as it's forming. So it's crazy because you take the egg out and it's like sometimes the egg's still in there, sometimes the egg's still forming. You'll have like a little mini ass egg, right? Sometimes a little mini egg. They're like small. So like a little yolk form first, right? Yeah, sometimes they'll be like that. When you get them, yeah. You haven't had any of them. Oh, you never. No, you're just using for laying, right? Yeah. I had them,
I'm
but
just
they were
using it
older.
for
Yeah.
laying right now. I haven't done
Yeah, they
that.
weren't happy where I was keeping them, because I was keeping. I had like a little enclosure for them, so
Uh,
they weren't happy about it. So I had to get rid of them. So it was time to eat them. Oh well.
but that is, they hold their energy inside of them. I have a rooster. We're not
Yeah, I
allowed to
enjoyed
have
the
roosters.
eggs. Yeah, I
Yeah,
enjoyed the eggs for
yeah,
real.
eggs are good. So, that's my that is my suggestion. I think that we just, part of being resilient and anti-fragile is, just thinking about the basics that you need, and of course, one of those is food, water, shelter, and for some people, it's internet.
You know, what my friends also do. They do some kind of foraging stuff. So they'll go
Yeah,
to the
foraging.
park and they know what they can eat there.
Yeah, yeah. That happened. I was reading about that Griffith Park, the history of Griffith Park, and I heard that happened in during the Depression, where people ate people like we have a lot of oak trees. The California oak is, of course, natural to here as native, I should say. And so the park, like there'll be some seasons where all of the oak trees will acorn, and then there'll be just like millions of them, and you can just gather them, and then you
You know,
know
also
uh,
people burn a
roast
lot
it.
of calories, like on just like for aesthetics. I'm not like saying like there are also like I'm not saying working out is bad because it definitely has like positive effects mentally and all that stuff, but really like we're burning a lot of calories on stuff we really don't need to be.
Mhm.
Maybe that sounds a little extreme, but we eat like so much. Like there's a lot of people overweight, and then also like even like people like someone like myself, even though I could get by on 2,500 calories, like I'm probably eating like 4,000, 5,000 calories and just crapping like a good amount of it out. You know what I'm talking about?
Or people can eat less.
Because I will eat four or
People are
five
going to
thousand
be
in
eating
once
less.
one in a
I
day,
think
easy.
I think people are going to be eating less, so it's going to be interesting. So I, I'm concerned with people who have families. I hope that we had some food programs here where they would tell families that they could go and drive to go get basically months of food, and they'll just get these kind of big cartons of food,
I have
and
a
they would
I have one more
we have
question
it
for
at
you.
the
Yeah.
Hollywood Bowl. In my area, we have it at the Hollywood Bowl.
So over here, right? Yeah, the food pantries have really been kind of giving out a lot of food,
Here too. Yeah.
but there's gonna be a food shortage. Just like it seems weird. It seems like there's a lot of food to give away, and it seems like you're also telling me the food shortage coming up.
Well, that's happening now. I think that
Why is
I
there a
think
is there a surplus now or something? What's going on?
I just think that there's more money coming toward it. The CARES Act gave so much money, and I don't know when that spigot ends, but I can tell you that I used to give food that I knew someone who worked at a rehab, and they would get a lot of extra bread from this particular company, like all their
Okay.
spare bread. And so she gave some to me to give to my chickens, and it was so much. I thought, okay, I'm going to give it to my local. It was really good bread too. Give it to my local food pantry, and I was shocked when I went. First of all, they hardly had any food, and secondly, I saw people that were basically like my neighbors when I went. I thought I was just going to see homeless people, and
Yeah.
I saw mostly the elderly from my neighborhood, and I just realized, oh my God. And when I try to tell people, my neighbors, like, there's a lot of food insecurity here. You just are not aware of it. And, my neighborhood is considered, I think at this point in time, I've lived here for a really long time, but it's considered it's kind of affluent now.
No, it's really
But,
sad. You know what I mean? Like
but,
you'll
but to
see
see
like
people
yeah.
who can't afford, because their social security runs out by the end of the month, and they just can't stretch it to the end, and there they are at the food pantry. I mean, people who are online that look like they were working at a bank. Like, it's kind of like, whoa. And this is before COVID. So,
Yo, I've been at some of these elderly people's house, right? Yeah, they'll take out the hash brown from McDonald's out the fridge, take a couple bites, and they'll put it back so they can have something to eat for later. Yo, that's so fucking sad. It's like ridiculous. You know what I mean? Yo, a lot of elderly people for real. They own their last finances. You know what I mean? I and just think about eating a cold ass hash brown. Like it doesn't taste good. You know what I mean? But I try. I was hoping that maybe their taste buds have died down a little bit, but that's really what their life is right now. It's like ridiculous.
I this is what's worrisome to me. This is what's worrisome because I knew that there was food insecurity before COVID. COVID has given everybody a taste of what UBI could be like, except that was hyper UBI, but it and and then people got kind of comfortable with that, and now there's all these austerity measures that Powell, the Fed chief, is trying to push through. And Biden's clearly not running things, so like, or if he does, like he doesn't really care. And so, um, what they're trying to do is push people to go back to work, but we don't have a worker shortage. We have a part-time worker shortage. We don't have a full-time worker shortage. There's lots of people who would love to work a full-time job, but we they don't want full-time workers. They want part-time workers because they don't want to pay.
You know, I like to see full time go down to 4 days a week, maybe three. Haha.
I think it
Anyways, yeah.
could. I think it could. I mean, it hasn't it already. I mean, people are getting part-time jobs, so isn't that basically the same thing?
Yeah, the companies have really cut their costs.
I
Everybody's a
mean, think about
contractor
this
now.
though.
It's
In in
ridiculous, yeah.
in in California, minimum wage just went up to 15.50. Okay,
Okay.
so that's more than twice what the federal wage is. Federal wage is 7.50.
Okay.
So in other states where their their basic wage is the same as the federal wage, you know, that they're, you know, at $15 an hour, 15.50 is twice as much, as they would make. That's what Trump gave out, all that COVID money. That's what it was based on. It was based on $15 an hour, and so they got twice as much money. They got used to that. They got used to that. Hard to go back.
Well, I'm glad they
So,
got it. I mean, I'm glad they're getting it.
and they got it for working, and if they worked, if things went up to $15 an hour, then it would be like working less days a week. It would be like working half the days.
Yeah, it would
So
be nice to really set ourselves for that type of. We, we need to really just have more time for our own lives, to take care of our children, to teach them the right things, instead of spending all of our time like making money to make these bosses of ours rich. You know, what I mean, it's just it's become unbalanced. And learn to be more self-sufficient. Have time to take care of our own crops, instead of buying their food, their packaged solutions, which are just really destructive to the environment and the world. So I like that. Yeah. So I'm down for that.
yeah, I'm happy to see things. I think that we'll be forced to pivot. I think that we'll be forced to pivot.
Yeah.
I think gardening will become
If I lose access to steaks, like I mean, I like steaks, but if I have to switch to eggs and stuff, you know what I mean? I'm okay with that. Something more sustainable. Eggs could be
yeah.
super delicious. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yep. Things are
Yeah.
good. Things are good.
Yeah.
Not always plentiful, but they're good.
Okay. Any other food ideas or thoughts at this time?
No, that's about it. Just to say to people that it's all connected,
Okay.
and
The
places that
international
grow
trade thing, I'm definitely concerned about that
Grace,
thing. That's
places
okay.
that grow food need water. If you see that places that grow food are having problems with water,
All right.
then you know that there's going to be some supply shocks, even if those supply shocks are not abroad, and especially so if they are. So know that that's going to happen, and that's going to affect your food budget. So get this stuff accordingly. And as someone who lives in earthquake country, it's it's just never a bad idea to have some food ready for an emergency, or even, if you need something. So even if you live in an apartment, as I know that people live in small places in New York, a sack of rice, 25-pound sack of rice, you can get it from Costco. And you may be happy. You may be happy that you did it. You know,
Makes sense to me. All
I,
right.
it's a little. I don't want to be Chicken Little. The sky's falling, the sky's falling. But I am growing more concerned because I've heard about this and I've heard people saying it, and now I hear farmers saying it, and they're very alarmed, and it makes me nervous.
Well,
That's all I can
time to order that oatmeal.
say.
Lasts a long time. Yeah, it's good.
I don't order that oatmeal yet.
Hey,
Exactly.
you have all those plants and stuff. Yes, so that's good. Okay. It's cheap too. Yeah, it's cheap too. Yeah.
It is. Lasts
It's
a long time.
it's so much. Also the thing is just so easy to make, right? Yeah, with rice and stuff, you gotta boil it but you put that in the microwave for 1 minute, or sometimes you get the quick oats, bam, just ready to rock and roll. Yeah, just quick, easy go. Yeah.